Welcome all. Welcome to another edition of Thursday Night Takeaway. My name's Lorraine Copes and I'm the founder of Be Inclusive Hospitality. And to remind you, Thursday Night Takeaway is a bi-weekly episode where I connect with entrepreneurs and founders within the hospitality, food and drinks industry. And now I'd like to invite today's guest to introduce herself, to tell us who she is and what she does.
Hi, Lorraine. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Amma Mensah. I am the founder and CEO of Reign.
Super. Thank you. And great to see you again, Amma. And so can you tell us what Reign is?
Yeah, absolutely. So Reign, in short, is a rum brand, but it also happens to be the world's first multi-award-winning African luxury rum brand from Ghana.
Wow, award-winning already. And so tell us about the path in then to the drinks industry and when your journey began with Reign.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit bizarre because I didn't ever really plan to be here. I started my journey with Reign as a consultant for an agriculture business in Ghana. I led a strategic review of the business. It's a 2,000-acre farm and distillery in the middle of the Ghanaian rainforest. And my role was really to review the business, which at the time of joining almost 4 years ago now, between 3 and 4 years ago at this point, was to review the business from both a commercial and social impact perspective. And I uncovered quite a lot of challenges and quite a lot of potential solutions as well, but none of them necessarily easy, straightforward, quick fixes. But definitely, I felt that I had developed a strategic plan that could transform the business completely and also has the potential to transform a whole community and have an actual impact on particularly the Ghanaian economy. So it was a pretty ambitious plan that I developed, and the owners of the business at the time who brought me on board, when they reviewed my plan, they were like, well, yeah, I'm not sure they were quite expecting what I presented. And they said, okay, well, if you think you can do this, how about you take over the business and do? And I said, yes. So probably 2 years ago at this point, I took over the running of this almost 2,000-acre farm and distillery in the middle of the Ghanaian rainforest, growing about 700 acres of cashew, sugarcane, all organic produce, and distilling sugarcane and also cashew apples into brandy, the cashew apples and the sugarcane into rum. Simultaneously, I had to develop the brand that you're familiar with, Lorraine, Reign, from scratch. I also had to restructure the whole business, the senior leadership team, all the way down to the grassroots, excuse the pun. I'm currently responsible for around 200 members of staff in Ghana, a growing team around the world. So we have operations in the Ahafo region, where the farms and distillery are, in Accra, in the UK, and also looking at distribution in a range of other territories around the world.
Wow. And what a task. And it just to help us understand just from a context perspective. So, what you've described is a really sizable business and driving social change, which is phenomenal. What does Reign represent as a percentage of your sort of day-to-day in the work that you do?
Probably about 300%, maybe.
Only.
Yeah, just maybe about 300%. Yeah, it's I do find that people, including my family, who members of my family who've never been to the farm, find it quite difficult to understand just the magnitude of what it is that I'm trying to do. So yeah, it's definitely beyond a full-time occupation for me at this point.
I see. And just focusing on Reign, obviously, how has your perceptions of the drinks industry changed since you have become a producer and a seller as opposed to a consumer?
Yeah, it's it's been incredibly eye-opening. I think there's what I've learned about the drinks industry specifically, but then also what I've learned about developing a product and just how different that is to running a service business, and the very different challenges, how the economic climate affects that, how COVID affected that, how Brexit is affecting that, all of those kind of things, for the drinks industry specifically, but also for products more generally. I think it's allowed me to have a really deep appreciation for the hospitality value chain and supply chain. Specifically for me, my value chain starts with African farmers. For many others, if you run maybe an establishment, a restaurant, you might be looking at your value chain starting with your waiters and waitresses. And for me, my farmers are entirely, intrinsic, and our farmers are the foundation of everything that we do. But in most global value chains, they yield the least value for the work that they do. And so even coming into this journey, that was something that was really kind of front of mind for me, was how can I disrupt that within my own business and potentially create what I now like to call a possibility model, almost a prototype for how agriculture businesses can be run differently.
Nice. And explain to me actually, and just connect the dots for me around your vision on what you're creating and the name and the visuals and the aesthetics of Reign and how that all comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. So people usually start with why the name. So Reign, I think everyone can see it on the screen, but it's Reign as in Queen reigns, as opposed to, bad weather. The motivation behind that is I'm trying to create a community where everyone who's part of that community feels royal. And it's directly embedded in African royalty. And that's what you see across our iconography, across our logo, our crest. All of the elements and the emblems that you see are directly taken from and inspired by African royalty, and quite specifically Asante royalty, which is the nation from which my heritage comes. And so when I say everyone feels royal, again, that starts with farmers, finding ways to ensure that their value is recognized and yielded for them, but also all the way to the other end of the value chain, customers. We've created a product which is beautiful, it tastes great, it looks great, but it also has to do good for the world as well.
That makes perfect sense. And so just reflecting on your journey today. So you mentioned initially the journey had begun 4 years ago. In terms of the launch of the product, what's the timing there?
Yeah, so we had some pre-launch activations in the UK from October 2022, which totally surpassed all of my expectations. The first event that we did was the UK Rum Fest. Shout out to Ian Burrell, who has definitely been a massive support for Reign in the short time that we've existed on the market. So we pre-launched at the UK Rum Fest in October 22. We managed to sell out of all the product that we had available at the time. We had one of the busiest stands, at the event, we had, people like Richard Seal and Luca Gargano visit us and fall in love with what it is that we are doing. So it was an amazing kind of debut onto the UK market. But at that point, we were still, selling very little product and mostly taking pre-orders. Yeah. Our official launch happened in January of this year in Ghana. Although we knew that the UK Rum Fest was a really important event on the calendar, it was also important that as a Ghanaian brand that we launched at home. And so we partnered with the Black Star Line Festival in Accra, which is ended up apparently being the largest festival ever to take place in the country. I think it was 54,000 visitors, maybe more. Yeah. And, having an audience of Erykah Badu, Chance the Rapper, Dave Chappelle, all of these kind of global superstars, participating in this event that we were sponsoring was really amazing. And it really allowed us to make a splash in Ghana. And we've continued to kind of, garner attention here on the continent more broadly as well. I've just come back from Kigali, Rwanda, a couple of days ago. So yeah, it's kind of, things are moving quite quickly, I would say.
Super positive, brilliant. And when you reflect upon your journey to date, what are some of the kind of key words that come to mind? How would you describe your journey to date in a couple of words?
Probably the first thing I'd say is life-changing. Mm-hmm. I'd say my life has changed quite a lot since undertaking this journey. I'd say it's been, for want of a better word, extremely exciting. Yeah. Exhilarating maybe is a better word. And then I'd also say it's been challenging. Yeah. It's you have to take the rough with the smooth. Yes, there's lots of progress happening, but it's hard won, and it's a large task ahead.
For sure. And from a learnings perspective then, as your background was not in rum production, was it at all? Or rum brand produce? Okay. So what have some of the key learnings been for you there in that respect?
So yeah, to be honest, Lorraine, not only is rum not my background, the beverage industry, hospitality at large is not a space that I come from. Aside from, some jobs while I was at university, it's not been where I built my career. My background is in business, social business to be precise. I've been a social entrepreneur for over a decade. And so although there are a lot of transferable skills and experiences that I've taken from my previous career, I have to learn a whole new industry. And I think some of my key learnings are really that, to learn. I've had to really have my ears to the ground, my eyes to the ground, be incredibly humble, learn from people like you, Lorraine, learn from so many others in the industry who I've been really lucky and grateful to be received openly by. I think the drinks industry in so many ways is from my kind of perception going through some kind of renaissance at the moment, on so many levels, in terms of the types of products that we're seeing, where those products are coming from, and who owns those products and brands. And being a young Black woman in this space, it could be really daunting. But for me, I have to say, I felt really lucky. I felt really welcomed, and I felt like there've been a lot of people who have been so willing to kind of open up themselves and their little black books, and kind of willing me on to succeed. And I think they also recognize that with what I'm trying to do, I'm also trying to bring a whole community along with me. And so it kind of makes sense that they would support and help me to do that. And, lift as you climb, as they say, is probably been my experience in large part.
Super. Thank you for sharing that. And then something that you touched on earlier on, you talked about some of the kind of external factors that are really impacting supply chains, hospitality industry, probably the global economy at the moment from a logistical perspective, from a consumer spending perspective. How has the current climate shifted your strategy approach or not?
Yeah. So many factors. And I think if you're intending to run a successful business, it would be unwise to not allow those factors to shift your approach. For me, at the core of everything that I do is research and, taking insights and understanding what those mean.
Yeah.
So when I first started researching the drinks industry almost 4 years ago now, COVID hadn't happened yet. And so the strategy that we had looking at the on-trade, when COVID hit, we had to completely change our strategy. And now we're in the aftermath of COVID and we're having to relook at that again. So it's a constant, you have to constantly be open and you have to constantly be researching what's happening. The drinks industry is very kind of, it's consumer led. So where consumers are, what they're doing, where they're going, what they're interested in, what the trends are, really does shift things. And if you're not paying attention to that, then you can't possibly expect to succeed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I just sit and reflect, even like the past 2 decades, or especially in 2007, after the credit crunch, and seeing huge changes in consumer behavior and thinking that that was probably the worst storm that we would ever see. And fast forward, 15 years, and here we are again in a way that I don't think any of us could have imagined. Mm-hmm. And so, that aside, what are you looking forward to for the future of Reign, for the future of hospitality, for the future of the drinks industry? What are the things that excite you, despite those obstacles that we'll all face ongoing?
I think there's just so much innovation happening. There are so many new perspectives that are entering the space that are causing the industry and consumers to see the world differently. And I think that's what is exciting me. I'm excited to play a small role in that. I'm excited to be one of few people bringing African luxury products to the world, African luxury beverages to the world specifically, and hoping to really kind of create a new model and expectation for what products coming out of the continent looks like. And I think that can be said for so many different groups of people, so many different cultures, so many different demographics and subcultures. I think, there's just a lot of moving and shaking. I think it's a really dynamic space. For me, particularly rum is incredibly dynamic. It's growing in so many markets. And seeing non-traditional people and brands and products taking up that space, it's a lot of fun.
So thanks for that, Amma. And so would you like to share with the audience where they can find Reign?
Yeah, absolutely. In the UK, at least, you can find us on our website, which is reignrum.com. Anyone that's interested in following the journey, please follow us on Instagram as well, which is also Reign Rum.
Super duper. Thank you for that, Amma. And before we finish, I just want to ask you a few quick fire questions just to better get to know you, who you are. And so I'm going to start with asking you what your favorite smell is. I can see by your face, where is this going?
Oh, my favorite smell. Do you know what? I think I'm one of these people that really likes the smell of like wood and the trees after it rains.
Okay.
Weird.
No, I get that. I'm sure
Okay.
I've seen air fresheners to that sense, so it's a thing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's nothing like the natural thing, but yeah, I really like that smell.
Nice. Favorite season of the year?
Rainy season.
Of course. Favorite word? That one too?
Favorite word. Can I have two?
Go on.
My two favorite words
Uh-huh.
are probably progress and potential.
Oh, nice. Love that. Favorite ingredient?
Hibiscus.
Hmm. Favorite color?
At the moment, it's green.
Ah, mine too.
Hmm.
Favorite drink?
If I'm not drinking alcohol, which would be my own, favorite drink. Oh, I do love an elderflower cordial sparkling water.
Nice. Super duper. So, thank you all for joining us for another Thursday night takeaway. You will find us in the same place at the same time in a fortnight's time, where I'll be talking to another founder and entrepreneur within the hospitality, food, and drink space. I'll see you then. Take care. Bye.